I'll move to my end step and each opponent will lose 8 life, and I'll gain 8 life. What's that? None of you have more than 8 life? Well, I guess I win then. That's how you can expect games to end when you're playing Eriette of the Charmed Apple. This new legend from Wilds of Eldraine is perfect for a build-your-own precon, and here's why. Eriette of the Charmed Apple is a 3-mana 2/4 human warlock that reads, each creature that's enchanted by an aura you control can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. And at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of auras you control. That first ability, essentially goading opponents' creatures if they're enchanted, though they aren't forced to attack, is great for occasionally keeping big threats at bay. You can throw an enchantment on an opponent's big creature and keep them from coming at you for damage. This can definitely be helpful. But it's that second ability, draining each opponent for the number of auras you control, that is massive. Even with 2 to 3 auras on the battlefield, the swing in life totals is huge, quickly letting you outpace opponents and forcing them into a real ticking clock scenario. This is what I would call a passive commander. She's not attacking, she's not activating. Basically, she just wants to sit on the battlefield so that you can get the benefit of her passive effects, and that's still pretty good. But one of the big reasons why I was really drawn to Eriette is that she's a natural evolution of a deck I built a long time ago, my Killian Ink Duelist Lurist of the Dream Den companion deck. This deck, also budget, was built around Voltron and casting small auras to make Killian as big as possible and swing for the win. Removing Lurrus as the companion means we open ourselves up to some larger spells too. But before we take a look at the brew, be sure to check out my sponsor, Face to Face Games. They've got all of the amazing singles and sealed product you're looking for, including a ton of singles from Wilds of Eldraine. Use my promo code MECHANIC for 5% off of all of your orders. There are a lot of considerations to make when building Eriette, especially at the budget level. What creatures do we want to enchant? What enchantments do we want to run? What enchantments do we want on our opponent's creatures? And since Eriette is a passive commander, do we play our deck passively? Do we need to be attacking? Can we pillow fort up and let our commander drain the table? Or do we build up auras on our creatures, put some pressure on with attacks, and cast Eriette only when she's going to be draining opponents for 10 life each? I've approached this brew with one mindset: value, my favorite. We aren't going to have the biggest or baddest creatures, but we'll definitely be able to crack in with some threats like Illuminator Virtuoso, Core Spirit Dancer, or Slumbering Keepguard. But our main game plan is going to be benefiting off of casting our enchantments. We'll be discounting their costs with Transcendent Envoy or Starfield Mystic, allowing us to potentially cast multiple auras in a turn. We'll be drawing cards on the cast of each aura with effects like SRAM Senior Edificer or Mesa Enchantress, allowing us to steadily refill our hands. We'll even be drawing cards when our auras die, with the new Ashiok's Reaver or Hateful Eidolon, ensuring that even if we're in a situation where our opponents are removing our creatures, we're stacking up, we'll have our resources back in hand. But that's basic Enchantress. Let's also up the stakes by shrinking opponents' creatures when enchantments enter the battlefield under our control with a Doomwake Giant, or draining opponents with a Grim Guardian whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under our control, or making copies of our enchantments with the new Ondu Spirit Dancer, ensuring we're doubling up on our Constellation triggers and doubling up on auras for Eriette's triggers. And the auras we're including in the deck? Well, we're focusing on some small ones that we want on our creatures, like Kaya's Ghost Form, Hyena Umbra, or All That Glitters, to help bulk up and protect our creatures, turning them into not just threats, but persistent threats. And we are also including auras we want on our opponent's creatures, like Clawing Torment, Nurgle's Rod, and Dead Man's Chest. Remember, with our commander out, creatures we've enchanted can't attack us. We want to incentivize them to swing at anyone other than us, and this is a big help. But some of my favorites to put on opponents' creatures are Spirit Link and Vampiric Link. On the surface, it may seem like these grant the enchanted creature lifelink, but look again. These are auras that gain the controller of the aura, us in this case, life when the creature deals damage, distinctly different from lifelink. These are perfect to throw on an opponent's creature, making sure they can't attack you and gaining you life when they swing at someone else. Bonus! Typically, the challenge we'll be facing with the deck is losing our auras and not being able to get them back. Losing a resource you just paid mana and a card for sucks. And when it usually also means losing the creature that it's attached to, well, it feels really bad. We have a few ways to reclaim our enchantments though. Tragic Poet, Lurrus of the Dream Den, and Resurgent Belief are all ways that we can recoup lost resources. It's not a long-term or permanent solution, but getting to recast some of your best auras from the graveyard, or even just getting all of them back, is powerful and good enough for a surprise pop of damage towards the end of the game. There are a few non-aura enchantments in the deck as well. Sigarda's Aid, turning all of our auras into instant speed tricks. The new A Tale for the Ages, providing a strong double anthem effect to our own enchanted creatures, and the new Lord Skitter's Blessing, making a token aura when it enters the battlefield, but also drawing us an extra card on our upkeep if we control an enchanted creature. And trust me, in this deck, we're controlling enchanted creatures. But if we're not cracking in for the win regularly, being that we need to suit up our smaller creatures, how do we make sure Eriette is a big bomb of damage every turn? Since that life drain ability is a triggered ability, we could be using Strionic Resonator to get twice the mileage out of it. Having 4 auras on the battlefield can bomb 8 damage to each opponent. And if you can get that even higher, well, you could be chunking opponents for half their life totals each turn. You'll definitely be a threat in those games, but one they won't see coming. Now lastly, because we're in black and white, we can run some of the best removal in the game. Generous Gift and the new Stroke of Midnight to start with, letting us blast some of the biggest threats on the board. Classic Swords to Plowshares, Despark, and Feed the Swarm, giving us the versatility to remove anything if it threatens us. And a sculptable board wipe or two like Austere Command. This way we can blast all of the big creatures if we haven't been able to suit up our threats yet, or small creatures if we've gone really tall on a single creature. And hit all artifacts if they're giving our opponents a real edge. There may be some situations where we want to hit all enchantments, even our own, to get big bursts of card draw too. Flexibility is key. Speaking of flexibility, this wouldn't be a Build-Your-Own Precon without the pivot. And I'd forgive you for thinking Lurrus of the Dream Den would be our pivot commander here, because while that works, our pivot commander is actually Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff, from the Lord of the Rings set. Lotho is a svelte, 2-mana, 2/1 halfling rogue that lets us make a treasure token and lose a life whenever any player, ourselves included, casts their second spell each turn. This little legend is already seeing play in higher powered formats, but would make a great alternative to this deck if you're going heavier on the Pillow Fort aspects of Enchantress. Being able to adapt the deck to run Ghostly Prison or Sphere of Safety, letting your opponents duke it out while you profit the entire time. That is entirely up some folks' alley. Including more treasure generation like Life Insurance, Revel in Riches, and yes, even Smothering Tithe, could turn this into a really passive deck where you collect taxes on everything your opponents do. Encourage them to cast spells, encourage them to draw cards, encourage them to make mana. Group hug, but you're not actually giving anyone resources, just letting it all play out to your benefit. And if someone tries to come for you, gotcha spells and targeted indestructible tricks are up your sleeve. Teferi's Protection, Surge of Salvation, Blacksmith's Skill. They better be ready to burn multiple resources to set you back at all. And hey, while we're making treasures, there's always room for Academy Manufactor. On that note, let's look at the upgrade. If I were to add an extra $50 to this deck, where would I add it? Card draw is a big one. Eriette, as a commander, doesn't make us mana or draw us cards, so we need to supplement that. We have a few sources, but adding in Welcoming Vampire and Tokasha's Welcome, both creeping up to $2 and $3 respectively, are great adds for a deck where we have a lot of smaller creatures that we will later make bigger. Esper Sentinel, while still over $22, is fantastic in this or any white list. The fact that you can suit him up with an aura and make the taxes your opponents pay completely unreasonable, Well, that's amazing. A Hall of Heliod's Generosity would be an excellent add to the mana base as well. I mentioned earlier, but rebuying some of our best enchantments needs to be a weakness that we shore up. But at $7, it's definitely a priority upgrade. Then there's Retether. At $4, it's just outside the deck's budget. It was just reprinted in the Wilds of Eldraine Commander Precon though, so look to pick it up on the cheap. It returns all of our auras from the graveyard straight to the battlefield for just 4 mana. So good in a deck like this. I think this list is really solid, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Can Eriette of the Charmed Apple be the damage burst that takes Enchantress to being a real threat? Did I miss anything you feel is a must include? Let me know and take a look at the full list by visiting my sponsor, Moxfield. Moxfield is the best deck building platform in the world and makes it easy to make sure your budget brew is coming in at the right spend limits. Check out my profile while you're there and be sure to follow for all of my brews. And be sure to check out these other sweet deck techs on the channel. If you were inspired to brew today, well, you have to hit that subscribe button. But of course, as always folks, thanks for watching, good luck, and have fun.